Good evening, and thank you all for joining us today. This is our new series of the Guru Talk, where we've lined up for now 15 professors of IIT Madras from various departments who are going to be sharing their experiences on various projects that they have worked. So this series is going to be every Wednesday and Saturday, starting today at 6:30 in the evening. So we have one today. The next one is the next Wednesday, which is 15th, and going forward so the whole of July and August we have the series. So you will be receiving emails regarding it, and you can also go to our website where you will see all these listed also. It's our pleasure today to have with us Dr. Raj Gopal, who's currently a professor of civil engineering, and he's our institute chair professor also. He's been teaching here at IIT Madras from 1993, and I'm sure many of his students are part of today's session, and they would love to see him today. He obtained his MTech degree from IIT Madras in the year 1981. So if any of you are here from 81, please raise your hands. And he did his PhD from the University of Florida in 85. And between 85 and 93, he worked in Canada. And in 93, he came back to our alma mater and became a faculty member. He's an active researcher and consultant in the field of geotechnical engineering. He has guided several masters and doctoral students, and he has around 300 papers in journals and conferences. He served as the president of the Indian chapter of International Geosynthetic Society and as an elected board member of IGS. He's also served as the chairperson of the Asian activities of IGS for a 2-year term between 2016 and 2018. He's currently serving as the associate editor of 3 national and international journals in the field of geotechnical and geosynthetics engineering. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. And it's a pleasure having you on our first session of the Guru Talks. And over to you, Guru.
Okay, thank you very much, Lata ma'am. So, a very good evening to all the participants, and good morning to all those in the US, and good afternoon to those in Europe and other places. So, it's my pleasure to be sharing some thoughts on the Kannur International Airport. This was opened for traffic in December 2018, and it must be a very popular destination because more than 1 million passengers have already gone through this airport before the traffic slowed down due to this Chinese virus. Okay, so and I pitched it at a bit of a low level, at a very basic level, so that everyone in the audience can follow the lecture. And my outline of the presentation is like this. I'll be just showing 2 or 3 slides about some ancient constructions in India, and the reason I put this is just I'm sure all of you or most of you are aware, but still it's good to recapitulate, because when I first went to US in 1981, I was absolutely so naive. I did not know anything about my country, and I felt very embarrassed, because when the others compared to the others, we people from India did not know much about our country, and so I make it a point to tell something in all my lectures. So I will just briefly introduce the soil as a construction material, and then geosynthetics, and then issues with the Kannur International Airport, and then the construction project, how it was executed, and then just a couple of slides on a similar airport built at Pakyong, Sikkim. That was built almost 10 years back, but that was commissioned only recently, about 2 years back, and finally summary and conclusions. So I'm sure at least many of you from Tamil Nadu would have gone to Tanjavur to see this big temple at Tanjavur, which is more than 1,000 years old. And the beauty of this is this gopuram at the top. It's about 80 tons weight, and that's about 40 cubic meters of concrete. And how did the engineers design the structure so that this weight does not damage the the temple construction. So actually, a lot of engineering has gone in. Only thing is we don't realize that. And when the department faculty, we went there for retreat, one of the local engineers came in and he took us inside into the temple that the others would not have access. So we could appreciate the marvelous engineering that has gone in. And just to compare, see, this temple was built about 150 years before this Leaning Tower of Pisa. If it were not leaning, nobody would go and look at it. And because it's leaning, it has become famous. And just the comparison, compared to this Leaning Tower of Pisa, this temple is much higher and more heavier, and the soil is almost similar. But look at how both the structures have performed in the past 1,000 years. And here you see, I'm trying to push it back straight. Okay. And another small example is this grand aqueduct on River Kaveri in Tamil Nadu that was built almost 2,000 years back for irrigating Kaveri Delta. In fact, in those days, they built a barrage about 5.6 meters height, and this length across the river was about 329 meters, and then at the base, it's about 20 meters. And unfortunately, on top of this, the British built some more structure to increase the height. So we may not be able to see it, but it is there below this. So that means that the engineering is not a new thing. Like people in India, right from the ancient days, were practicing. And only thing is, we people don't study, or we are not very much aware of these constructions. So we can be proud, and we are no less compared to the other countries. Okay. So now let's come back to our topic, the soil as a construction material, because by far the soil is the most widely used construction material by volume. The reason is it's natural and abundantly available. And another reason is a very inexpensive compared to the other materials. Like, for example, the cost of soil is approximately 500 rupees per cubic meter, and cost of concrete is about 4,500 rupees per cubic meter, whereas the cost of steel is almost 45,000 per ton. So because of this, volume wise, whenever we need to build any road embankment or railway embankment, we go in for soil as a bulk fill material, unless we want an elevated railway track or elevated road. In that case, we go in for steel and concrete. So the soil as a construction material is very well accepted in geotechnical engineering. And but some of the problems that we have, because the soil being a granular material and also it's a natural material, it has a limited strength. It has a low load bearing capacity, and it can be standing on its own only up to some small heights. And we should expect very large settlements and volume changes. When it is dry, it will shrink, and when it is wet, it will start swelling. And we should expect unstable slopes when we have very, very tall structures and so on. And so, what is the consequence of the limited strength of soil? And this particular one I want to highlight, because this is what we are going to do in this Kannur Airport runway embankment. The soil as such has got very high compressive strength, but it has very limited tensile and shear strengths. So it can stand only up to its own angle of repose, that is its own friction angle. And steeper slopes require lateral support. Like, for example, say we take a cone, inverted cone, and then support the soil up to a very steep slope, and then remove the support, the soil is going to collapse to a more stable slope like this. And but if you want to support vertical or sloped soil at an angle steeper than its own angle of repose, we require some support in the form of external retaining wall, or in terms of internal reinforcement. And from about 1980, we have been seeing the modern construction materials called as geosynthetics. And the geosynthetic is actually it's a polymeric material, and the polymer is nothing but plastic. It is the same plastic that we see um, in terms of the plastic buckets, plastic mugs, and so on. They're engineered, and then we get several varieties of these geosynthetic materials. They're called as geosynthetic because they are used in combination with soils and other geological materials, and then they are manufactured materials, so they're synthetic. And we should be able to overcome all the problems that we have previously identified with the soils. Like, for example, we can prevent the fine soil particles from migrating, that we call as filtration. Or when we are constructing roads or railway tracks, we can stabilize the aggregate base that could lead to better performance in the long run. Or we can provide for internal flow of water, that's called as drainage, or a reinforcement, or we can control erosion. And then we can also use it as a fluid barrier. And in this particular application, we'll see the use of geosynthetics in many of these applications, like as a fluid barrier, as a filter, as a reinforcement, drainage, and erosion control. So I will explain them when we go to those topics. And just to illustrate, it's a very elementary problem that we can come across. It's a real problem. Like, let's say we have an existing road in an urban area, and because of the increase in the traffic, we want to widen it. But then, this being an urban area, it's all fully constructed, so we cannot demolish these buildings. So what can we do? We can one thing that we can do is we can increase the slope angle to a much steeper slope. Say previous slope was this, and now because of placing the reinforcement layers, we can achieve a steeper slope, and with the result that we have gained some extra space, and that could be used for additional traffic lanes. And here we see that we are able to build a much steeper slope because of the interaction between the relatively stiff reinforcement elements and the soil. And these reinforcement elements will prevent the lateral expansion or the lateral deformation of the soil. And in turn, it will stabilize the soil. So it's a synergetic combination between the reinforcement and the soil. So this same principle we are going to see in the construction of this airport runway embankment at Kannur Airport. And here is another example. And here is a ghat road which is very narrow. And there's a valley here. And then just next to that, there's a river. And the things are not clear in this picture, but it's a built up, heavily built up area. And now, how do we widen this road? By filling up the valley here. And so by filling up this valley, we can gain some extra space and increase our road width. But then we cannot be constructing a vertical slope because the soil has a limited strength. So we require some support. And that is what is done here. So actually, this particular retaining wall, it's about 220 meters long, and the total height is about 22 meters. And you see, this actually none of these buildings were demolished for constructing this structure. And that's the beauty of this system because it's an entirely flexible system, and we do not require heavy machinery for doing this construction. And and it's adaptable. Like we can use different construction procedures for achieving our construction. And here you see the finished road. It's previously it was this wide, and now it has become very wide. And you see the river, Krishna River. This particular one is in Vijayawada city. So if anybody goes there, you can see it. And another problem that we will see is the soil erosion. Like this is what we see in most of the railway embankments road embankments. Because of the rainfall and the water flow, the soil slowly gets eroded, and we form initially gullies, and then after some time, the same rainwater will go deep, percolate deep into the soil, and then it starts degrading the strength of the soil. And we can improve the performance by growing some vegetation by using some natural reinforcement materials like coir and jute. And here you see a finished railway track. The railway track is here, and this is the entire slope. Within about 2 seasons, very good greenery got developed. So now, having seen some basics of the geosynthetics, let's come back to our main topic, that is the Kannur International Airport. And Kannur in Kerala, that is in the southwestern part of India. And the flight traffic started in December 2018, and more than 1 million passengers have already traveled through this airport within about 1.5 years. And it's a greenfield tabletop airport. Tabletop airport is a very, very critical one because it's at an elevation, the runway is at an elevation compared to the rest of the ground. And just like any dining table, like if you start pushing something, the things will fall down. Similarly, when you have a tabletop airport, we should be careful because we need to give some extra space for the aircrafts to stop. Because compared to this Chennai airport or Bombay airport or Delhi airport, they're all on flat lands, and so there's not a problem if the airplane does not come to stop by the end of the runway because there is no valley, and the average height of this location is about 90 meters above the mean sea level, and maximum height is 142. And this particular place is a highly rolling terrain. It's with lots of hills, and the annual rainfall is about 3,500 millimeters. Comparatively, the Chennai rainfall is only 1,400 millimeters. And this entire rainfall happens within about 3 to 4 months of a southwest monsoon and a small part in the northeast monsoon. And there is a lot of lateritic soil in the hills. So whatever soil is excavated was used for filling up the valley and leveling the ground. And the maximum height of the reinforced soil slope is nearly 70 meters. And so, because of this heavy rainfall, coupled with very large height of the slope, is a challenge. It's an engineering challenge, and that could lead to possible surface erosion and slope failures. So, when we are designing and constructing, we should be addressing all these aspects. And I will briefly explain how all these issues were overcome. And some details of the runway. It's a single runway with a length of 3,000 meters, and there's a parallel taxiway. And there is an additional safety runway on both ends of the runway, on both east and west ends, for about nearly 250 meters on each side. So the total length of the runway is 3,650 meters. And the average finished elevation of the runway is at about 100.47 meters, and with a fill height of 48 meters on the eastern side and up to 87 meters on the western side. And the total volume of excavation and filling is 45.5 million cubic meters. And out of this, the total cutting volume is 23.9 million cubic meters, and the embankment fill portion is 21.6 million cubic meters. And this itself is a record in terms of handling so much soil. And this gives an overall perspective. This is an aerial picture taken during the construction. And this is the runway and safety area. And this particular one is the runway. And the reason for going for the steep slopes is there's not enough airport land. is actually the airport boundary is almost about slightly beyond the slope. And so if we go in for a traditional one vertical to 2.5 to 3 horizontal slope, we will be encroaching almost 200 meters away from the end of the runway, and that much space is not there. So it had to be with a steep slope. And actually, this particular picture gives the contour levels. And the airport boundary is almost here, and you can see these all these contour lines. And this is our end of the runway, and this is the legend. You can see the and some part where there is land, it was a free slope, that is it was a shallow slope, one vertical to two horizontal. And then in some places there's almost uh, like two vertical to one horizontal, about 70-degree slope or 65-degree slope. Okay? And these are the different sections. And I will be discussing the section where we have 70 meters height of slope. And this is the finished the pictures from the finished airport. This is the antenna system. And actually, the challenge is this particular antenna system is built at the top of 70 meters height of soil. And we know that the soil is compressible and it's going to deform. And periodically, they have to maintain the elevation because these antennas, they are connected to the radar system. So their exact elevation, exact alignment should be maintained. And there are systems to monitor the deformations, and they are taking corrective action periodically. And this is the peripheral road, and this is the drain along the length to collect the surface rainwater. And this is the runway and safety area. And so this and the challenge was the entire runway was to be completed within 32 months, and out of this there's 8 months of monsoon interruptions. During the southwest monsoon for about 4 months, it is impossible to do any construction because the rainfall is very heavy and intense. And so this the effective construction time period was only 24 months. And so that was a challenge. And in addition to all the other loads, the earthquake factors corresponding to zone 3 had to be considered. And the main contractor was L&T ECC, and the reinforced soil path was done by Messrs. McAfee Environmental Solutions Private Limited. And L&T ECC, they have asked me to be the proof consultant. And for the first time in India, the design was not just by empirical methods, but it was to be vetted through detailed finite element analysis. So that is where I had to do a lot of work for this particular project. And so it was good that we have done the finite element analysis, because some of the failure mechanisms that were not apparent in more simplistic methods, we could see them in the finite element analysis. And so all the designs were performed by slope stability analysis and verified by two-dimensional finite element analysis. And the reinforcement elements, they were polymeric strips made of polyester fiber, and the strength varied anywhere from 100 kilonewtons per meter to 1200 kilonewtons per meter. And these were provided at vertical spacing of 800 millimeters, and their optimum length and the strength of different reinforcement layers, they were determined through detailed analysis. And this is the picture that shows the cross section of these reinforcement strips. Actually, these are selected because they will not be undergoing too much of damage during the construction, because we are going to use excavated soil, and that soil may have some some pebbles or stones, and we should select a particular type of reinforcement that will not be damaged during the construction. And this particular one was selected because it has the lowest installation induced damage. And these materials are supplied in rolls about 5 meters wide and 50 meters length. You can see all these rolls that are stacked and they're covered before they were used. And this particular section is actually, this is just one particular section. It shows the reinforced soil embankment. And this entire thing was analyzed by RISA. This is actually, it's a reinforced soil slope analysis. This was approved by US Federal Highway Administration because the US Federal Highway Administration, they have come out with different design codes even before India could develop their own code. Now we have our own code, in which is undergoing some revisions and which may be approved soon. And the failure could happen by sliding or by slip circle. And these are all the reinforcement layers that were provided. And the color combinations, they show the different strength geogrids. And the same thing was also analyzed by finite element analysis. This was done by Plaxis 2D, which is a very well known and versatile commercially available finite element program. And so the starting point for all these constructions is at the bottom of the slope that we call as the toe. And this toe was protected by gabions. So actually, gabion is a wire basket mesh filled with stones. And you may be wondering why we need to do this. Because actually, these gabions filled with stones, they provide a good mass. And because of these stones, they have a lot of pore space. And if there is any water stagnated behind the structure, the water can come through this the pores, the pore openings between the stones. And since we are dealing with a very tall structure, 70 meters height, and the width is almost 50 meters at the top, and the length is a huge length. And when there is an intense rainfall, we should expect the rainwater to come into the soil. And so this toe protection, it protects the structure, and at the same time it will provide a path for the water to escape from the soil. And these are some pictures at the toe. Is actually the height of this gabion wall is different at different locations along the length. And periodically, there are these HDPE tubes that you see that are connected to internal drainage system. And here you see the close-up of the gabion. Actually, that's filled with stones and then soil so that the vegetation can grow. And the construction is by cutting the hill, and then the soil was brought into the valley portion. It was dumped, and then it was spread, and then water was sprinkled, and then it was compacted by vibro compactor. So actually, this the water sprinkling, it was done on a trial and error basis because since we are dealing with a huge soil mass, the soil that is taken out from different parts will be different. So L&T, they have set up a lab at the site, and they have tested not less than about maybe 25,000 to 30,000 soil samples during these 2 years of construction. And the soil was compacted in 200 to 300 millimeters layers, and they have used a 10-ton single drum vibro roller, and they had to use a 6 to 8 passes. That was very large because this particular soil, it's a lateritic soil. It requires a lot of energy. It's not like any regular soil, and A normal compaction might involve about 3 to 4 passes, but here, because sometimes the soil is in lumps, and unless we have sufficient number of passes, you cannot crush the lump and compact it. And at least 98% modified dry, the maximum dry density from the modified Proctor compaction was achieved in the reinforced portion. And behind the reinforced portion, that's called as backfill portion, about 95% dry density was achieved. And the soil compaction and the water contents were continuously monitored using nuclear density gauges. So there were some specialists who carried out these tests, and because it's a nuclear thing, they were wearing the special clothes, and then they were also monitoring their exposure to radiation. And here you see the reinforcement layers. It's actually these, as I said, these geogrid layers, they come in rolls, and here you see how they are spreading. Is actually they can be rolled, they can be pulled out by rollers, or sometimes people can unroll it. And once you unroll it, you have to stretch it manually, and then it is anchored by using U pins, because the geogrid has to be tight. Just like when you have a rope, when it is slack, you cannot apply any tensile force, and when it is tight only, you can apply tensile force. And the success of these geogrid reinforced structures is also a function of how tightly these geogrid layers are placed. So it was ensured that all these layers were stretched and then tied to the ground by using U pins. And we should also make sure that no construction equipment directly travels on these geogrids, because these are basically plastics. And if any construction equipment like a truck or anything passes, they'll get damaged. And so what they do is they use a back dump a truck and dump the soil and then spread it. And at least 200 millimeters soil cover is given before any equipment like a compactor or a truck travels on these geogrid layers. And this particular construction was very tricky, because it's in a heavy rainfall area, and because the construction took almost 2 years, so they took care to cover this entire area with the tarpaulin cloth to protect the soil from getting wet during the rainy season or during the rainfall. In fact, the L&T was doing construction round the clock, 24 hours in shifts, and then only for about 2 to 3 months during June, July, and August time they stopped. But then they were doing the other works, like not the runway construction, but the other ancillary works they were doing, like seeding the plants and other things. And it's actually drainage is very very important. That is, by drainage, what we mean is we should not allow any rainwater to get stagnated inside the soil embankment. And because we are dealing with a very huge soil mass, which is about 3 kilometers long, and about depending on the section, about nearly 30 to 40 meters wide, and the height in some areas almost 70 meters height. So if any rainwater enters, it is going to reduce the strength of the soil. And this particular soil, the lateritic soil, when it is dry, it is very very hard. But when it is wet, it's almost like a toothpaste. And so to prevent the rainwater from entering, they provided a chimney drain. It's actually a chimney drain. I will show you a picture of it. The next slide. It's a barrier of 600 millimeters wide, and that is going for the entire height of the slope, and it's filled with stones of about 13 to 40 millimeter size, so that any water can freely flow through this, and then it comes out through the collection pipes like this. This is provided at the bottom, at the toe of the structure. Actually, this is a typical section, and the chimney drain is provided behind like this. And if any rainwater comes in, it will flow through here. And you might ask, why should the water flow through? Because just like the humans, the rainwater also follows the path of the least resistance, that is, the path with maximum permeability, and the water will have the least resistance to flow along this drain. And here you see a close-up of a chimney drain. So actually, these two pictures are from a different construction site, but the principle is the same. And this the chimney drain with stone fills is actually, it is protected from seepage of fine soils by placing a non-woven geotextile on both the sides. And actually here you see a white color cloth, that is the geotextile. And so here you see at the front end, there's a perforated pipeline wrapped in a geotextile, and once again covered with stone aggregate that's going to collect, and then the water will come out. And here you see the gabion wall that I had referred to earlier. And so how do we protect the surface? This is on the sides, and the entire length of the runway was covered with a geomembrane. It's a 1 millimeter thick, high density polyethylene geomembrane. A geomembrane is a plastic sheet that is impermeable and that will not allow any rainwater to flow through. And above this, 200 millimeters thick aggregate layer was placed, and this aggregate layer was sandwiched between non-woven geotextiles, and then we have the soil, and then this is the finished runway elevation, and this takes care of the surface arrangement. And there's a gradient given for this stone aggregate so that any water can freely flow and get collected in the drainage system. And another problem that we have to deal with is the surface erosion. It's actually, since we are dealing with a very large height, and the length of the slope, which is very large, it's actually in some places too horizontal to one slope was given. So the length of the slope is almost 140 meters. So when the rainwater flows along the length, it will pick up the speed and starts eroding the soil. And so one way of overcoming that is by growing vegetation. So this entire length was covered with a coir geotextile. And here you see a picture. And here also there is a coir geotextile, but actually it has faded because this particular picture was taken a long time after construction. But you see the vegetation that's growing through. And then in some parts where it is a very steep slope, and the slope was protected with a wire mesh, steel wire mesh, because it's very difficult to achieve a slope. Um, to During the construction, it gave some support, some lateral support to the soil for the construction. Okay, so these are some pictures. So actually, this is nearly 70 meters height, and on the other side, there are some places where the height is slightly more, 87 meters, but then there's more space, so gentle slopes were given. And here, so actually, the bottom part was given a gentle slope, and it was given about 2 to 2.5 to 1 vertical, and the upper part is a reinforced soil part with very steep slope, almost a 65-degree slope. And at the bottom, we have this gabion walls, and these are the reinforcement elements. that are used for strengthening the soil. And this entire sorry, this entire drainage system was interconnected, and so wherever um, there's water in inflow, is actually if the water enters from the surface, it will flow along, and then it will enter the drain. And from this side, if the water enters, it will enter the drain, and then it flows and then gets collected at the bottom, and then it gets exited from these outlets. And the moment actually it has been about 3 years, 3 to 4 years since the embankment was finished, and already it has undergone a settlement of about half a meter, and that is natural because it's a soil structure. In spite of doing heavy compaction, we should expect, because the soil is compressible, and over a period of time it will compress. And so they were monitoring all the deformations continuously and taking precautions so that their radar systems they function well. And very briefly, I will explain the airport runway construction at Pakyong, which was built almost 10 years back. And Pakyong in Sikkim, it has a similar situation, except that in Sikkim, it's a very, very highly seismic zone, and the and that region gets much higher rainfall. And this airport is meant only for ATR aircrafts. So the length is about 3 kilometers length. And once again, to gain a flat runway, they had to cut a hill slope and then fill a deep valley. And this valley is about 72 to 73 meters. And these hills were cut. So the problems that we could expect is that wherever there is a cutting, there will be severe erosion and then infiltration of water, because this length is 3 kilometers, and this height is 180 meters, and the slope is almost two horizontal to one vertical. The entire rainwater might get collected, and it has to exit through this filled up portion. So any system that is provided here, that is the retaining structure, it should be able to handle not only the forces, the lateral forces exerted by the soil, but also the water that is coming out and the hydrostatic pressure. And beyond that, all the seismic forces that might happen during the earthquakes. And this particular structure, it has already undergone about 5 to 6 medium to slightly higher earthquakes of magnitude 6.8 to 7 on the Richter scale. And some of the problems are it's a very highly mountainous terrain, and it's a sensitive ecological system. So that means that the local flora fauna cannot be disturbed much. And it's a very heavy, intense rainfall area, almost 5 meters annual rainfall. And seismical, it's an active area, zone 5, whereas Kannur is only zone 3. And there are many streams, and there is a possibility for water stagnation. So along the length, there are many streams, and here you see one outlet for one of the streams. So all these things had to be taken care during the construction, and it's very difficult to operate heavy machinery, and we should expect very severe erosion of surface soil. And the solution was in terms of the soil usage. Whatever hills that were cut, they were used in the valley portion, and the facing of this retaining wall was provided by stone-filled gabions, because that provides a permeable facing, so that any water that's entering the soil will be able to exit. And the advantage with the gabions is we can grow vegetation. See, initially you might see only stones, but after a few seasons, you will see only greenery because the vegetation can grow through these the soil that is placed inside these gabion boxes. And once again, in Sikkim airport, they used very high strength reinforcement layers similar to the ones that are used at Kannur airport. And in this particular place, they used vertical spacings up to 2 meters height. And so that became an international benchmark case study, because all the international codes, they suggest that we cannot exceed a vertical spacing of 800 millimeters. And so that is even now the Federal Highway Administration Code recommends only 800 millimeter spacing, whereas the British code, they have removed that vertical spacing requirement, because based on the local analysis and more detailed analysis, we can provide spacing at more than 2 meters. And then a very good, excellent drainage arrangement was provided, and then vegetation was grown to prevent the erosion. Okay, so that's a very similar construction, and in fact, IIT Madras was involved even in that project, because we had to do the soil testing and also the testing of the reinforcement materials and recommending the strength of these materials and so on. Okay, so just to summarize, these geosynthetics are polymeric materials used in combination with the geomaterials, and they were successfully used for the construction of very steep and high embankment at Kannur Airport. In fact, four different varieties of geosynthetics were used. That is the reinforcement, and then filtration, that is the geotextile. We had used gabions, and then the geomembranes as water barrier, and so on. Like two varieties of geotextiles were used, both woven and non-woven, and also natural geotextiles, the form of coir mats, were used for helping the vegetation growth. And the use of reinforcement has enabled constructing very steep slopes within the limited space available. And detailed modeling, the analysis have resulted in optimal designs, like the optimal strength of the reinforcement and the length. And the settlements are continuously monitored, and remedial measures are taken on a periodic basis. And just to conclude, the one golden rule is design is a very, very small part. In all these constructions, the design is a small part, but construction is more important. And the success of any project is partially due to design, but substantially due to quality control and monitoring during the construction, because without the quality control, we may not be able to achieve the success of the project, because sometimes the soil may not be compacted well, or the too much water might be added during the compaction. So in this particular construction, L&T had deployed very large number of material engineers to monitor the soil that is used, and they used to collect the soil samples, and then they used to take them to the lab and perform all the tests, so that we can assure the success. So that's a brief introduction to the use of geosynthetic, and then how the Kannur airport was constructed. So many acknowledgements to most of the geosynthetic companies in India: Garware Walropes, McAfee, TechFab. Then thanks to L&TCC for involving me as a proof consultant for the KA for this runway embankment. And then McAfee, they were the providers for the geosynthetic solutions. And then so I had to interact with them for not only the limit equilibrium analysis, but also the finite element analysis. So I worked very closely with them, and they arranged several site visits. Then they also provided pictures that I showed. And then thanks to all my students, and then also to the patient listeners. Okay. So thank you very much. So these are all the students. They built a small retaining wall using paper. And here you see the geosynthetics. These are the geocells, and this is a geotextile. Okay, so that's a brief introduction to this airport runway construction. So I will take questions. You can ask questions through the chat, and then I believe some questions are also posed through the polls. So okay, I'll take the questions. So thank you, Senthil Kumar, Raj Kumar Pant, Mukundan, Ravi Mittal, Ravi Mattai, sorry. Sadia, Charan Singh, Sonu Kumar. I hope all of you have enjoyed it and learned a bit. And in my first slide, I gave my email address. So if you want more details, you please contact me. Unfortunately, because of the limited time, I could not go into any details. I've just given a very nutshell type of presentation.